I want to say something that might feel relieving. You're probably not lazy. You're probably overstimulated. There's a difference. Lazy is a character flaw. Overstimulated is a nervous system state. And most people are mislabeling their exhaustion as a personality defect. The why can't I just do it spiral? You wake up with good intentions. You know what you should do. You even want to do it, but somehow the day dissolves. You check your phone, one video turns into 12. You switch tasks, you start something, you stop, you open another tab. By the end of the day, you feel behind, frustrated, slightly ashamed. And the thought appears, why am I like this? That sentence is heavier than it sounds because it assumes the problem is your identity. And let's zoom out. Your brain evolved in an environment where stimulation was limited. Silence was normal, boredom was common, and focus was uninterrupted. Now your brain is navigating infinite scroll, short form dopamine bursts, constant notifications, multiple tabs, background audio, comparison at scale. You're not operating in a neutral environment. You're operating inside a casino for attention, and you're blaming yourself for not meditating in the middle of it. And here's what overstimulation actually does to you. It fragments your attention. And when your attention fragments, effort feels much heavier. And when effort feels heavier, your tasks begin to feel bigger. And feel bigger, avoidance increases. And avoidance may look like laziness. In actuality, underneath it is cognitive fatigue, not moral failure, uh, not your feeling. Fatigue. Your brain is tired of context switching, tired of novelty spikes, tired of constant evaluation, tired of being on. And when the brain is tired, it seeks easy rewards, scroll, snack, switch, delay, not because you're weak, but because you're depleted. And here's another layer. You're consuming more productivity content than any generation before you. Morning routines, optimization hacks, disciplined speeches, success montages, even this video. You're watching peak output while sitting in cognitive overload. That gap creates shame. So you think, can do it, why can't I do it? But you're comparing someone's curated sprint to your everyday marathon. Again, this is a wrong scale, right? Different circumstances. Okay, so instead of asking, why am I so lazy, we should try asking ourselves, how saturated is my attention right now? Be honest. How many inputs did you consume today before noon? How many times did you switch apps? How many micro hits of stimulation did your brain absorb? Of course, deep work feels hard. Your baseline is fragmented. Thus, we need to rebuild our cognitive strength. You don't fix overstimulation with self criticism, especially when it's very negative. You fix it with reduction, reducing it. Start small. One task, one tab, one quiet block in your schedule. No background audio. Phone is out of reach, right? At first, it will feel very, very uncomfortable because you're so wired to a state that is not to a specific state, and that state is not healthy. Thus, we have to change it positively. Right? You feel uncomfortable not because you're incapable, but because your brain is recalibrating. Right? It will feel loud, the silence, and focus may feel very slow. But that's withdrawal from noise, not proof of laziness. So this is important. If you believe you're lazy, you'll act defensively. If you believe you're overstimulated, you'll act strategically. One belief attacks your character, the other adjusts your environment. You don't need a new personality, you need less input. So what changes when you reduce stimulation? Something subtle happens. Tasks begin to feel smaller. Time stretches. You think more clearly. You feel slightly calm, not euphoric, just steady. And steady is powerful, balanced. Because steady builds momentum. Momentum builds confidence, and confidence replaces shame. And suddenly, the thing that you call laziness starts dissolving. So here's a quiet test. Why don't you try this tomorrow? For the first 30 minutes of your day after you wake up, consume nothing. Do not scroll your phone. Do not look at emails. Don't open YouTube and don't listen to any music. Just exist. Notice how uncomfortable it feels. And that's also really important. The discomfort is data. It shows you that you are so dependent on these things. And what is life without it? You become so addicted to it, like drugs. When you compare people who who take drugs, with people who are addicted to social media, is the same thing, because the basis is foundation. The basis is addiction, right? So this discomfort tells you how conditioned your system has become to these sort of negative uh, habits. Maybe they're not negative, but the number of use, and the way it's being used, and what you consume and what it does to you is very negative, right? So this discomfort that you feel is data that tells you what needs to be recalibrated. So to conclude, you are not lazy. You are navigating a stimulation heavy world with a human nervous system that cannot adapt with it very well. That mismatch creates friction, and friction creates avoidance, and avoidance creates shame. But shame is not the solution. Design is, right? We need to reduce our inputs, what we consume, and we need to reclaim our focus and protect our attention, right? And watch how different we feel when our brain is not constantly interrupted. We're not broken, we're overloaded, and overload can be adjusted. And people are not really going to be there to help you with this. So we really have to help ourselves, because this is part of taking care of ourselves. If we don't do it now, you know, it's the same thing, right? The compounding effect. If we compound ourselves with a lot of negative things, it will eventually lead to something very negative. If we are compounding in something that's very healthy, we will definitely become very healthy, right? So um, it's straightforward, but it's not easy to follow the straightforwardness of it, and that's why it takes some trial and error. But it's good to try, and it's good to start than not at all, because this may compound to something that is very negative, and moreover very difficult to fix, very difficult to make right of, because there's just so much compounded. So yeah, thank you for watching.